Nigerian's maritime space is more than a route for importing and exporting goods. It is a potentially multi-sector economic engine encompassing shipping, ports, fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, logistics, shipbuilding, offshore energy, marine technology, and environmental services. The central challenge is, therefore, not simply whether Nigeria has maritime resources, it clearly does, but whether the country can convert those resources into sustainable jobs, investment, government revenue, and inclusive economic development. A successful blue economy strategy would require security, infrastructure, investment, environmental protection, skilled manpower, and strong institutions working together. If properly harnessed, Nigerian maritime sector could become an important pillar of economic diversification and a significant contributor to national development. Tonight I'm being joined on Korero by Dr. Caleb Danladi, a maritime expert, and he'll be helping us put all of these issues in perspective. But first, it's a delight to have you join me on Korero. Good evening, Dr.
Good evening, it's my pleasure.
Well, Dr. Caleb, let's even begin the conversation by first even assessing the maritime sector. The federal government has increasingly emphasized the blue economy as a key driver of diversification. UI Seafarer, what practical progress has Nigeria made beyond policy announcement? And has the country maritime sector been able to evolve from indigenous trade to the modern blue economy so far?
Okay, thank you very much for this important question. So the Nigerian blue economy holds a huge potential if properly harnessed, which is crucial. First of all, let's look at the Nigerian demography. Nigeria is strategically located along the Gulf of Guinea, which is a major shipping route from the southern Atlantic up to Europe, and also is a major sources of oil export because Nigeria is a major oil exporting countries. Let's also look at the coastline. Nigeria have over 853 kilometers of coastline and over 10,000 kilometers of inland waterways, out of which 3,000 are navigable. Then let's also look at the exclusive economic zone. The exclusive economic zone extends more than 200 nautical miles from the baseline, which is a huge potential. So looking at the Nigerian maritime sector, the blue economy holds a huge potential. The blue economy is beyond shipping, is beyond port operation, is also beyond shipbuilding. It has to do with also fisheries. It has to do with coastal tourism. It has to do with alternative sources of power because the emphasis now is about decarbonization. Decarbonization has come to stay and we have a target by 2050, we should be near or close to net zero. And how do you achieve that? You achieve that by moving away from the traditional fossil fuel to renewable energy. And one of the sources of renewable energy is the offshore power system, the wind power system. So it also forms part of the blue economy. So back to your question now, looking at the Nigerian maritime and blue economy that holds a huge potential. If we look at the progress that have been made from the late 90s to the early 2000s until date, I must say significant progress has been made. In the past, the Nigerian Maritime Authority and the Joint Maritime Labor Industrial Council, which is Jomalik, they were separated. Then they came a merger. They merged Jomalik and NMA to become NIMASA so that they can strengthen the maritime safety and security of the country. Then let's move away from that. Previously, Nigerian ports was one of the most inefficient ports in the world. Then what happened at that period of time? That period of time, there was a port concession. They concessioned the terminal operations to private terminal operators while government oversee the regulatory aspect of the port. So, Dr. If you look at the progress, now let's move to the, let me take you, you're not allowing me to learn. Yes.
Well, before you go on and on, you've talked about the Nigerian Port Authority, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and of course the Nigerian Shippers Council. For many Nigerians that are even expecting a lot of output from the blue economy and harnessing its potential, they'll say that these institutions have not been able to fulfill their original mandates. Help us even understand these institutions so far, taking it back to the pre-colonial times to where we are right now. Have they been able to fulfill their obligations?
Okay, I was taking you to that.
No, because we needed to get to that point because...
Okay, so yes. First of all, if you look at what the administration have done recently, this is the first time that we are having a dedicated ministry that deals with the marine and blue economy. Previously, NIMASA, Shippers Council, Nigerian Port Authority, they were all under the Ministry of Transport. You have so many subsidiaries under the Ministry of Transport, the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oral, you have the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology in Zaria. So you have so many agencies and parastatal under the Ministry of Transport. But this administration has created a new ministry called the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy because they have seen a huge potentials when it comes to harnessing the marine and blue economy resources because of the potential it holds. Now you are talking about whether the NIMASA have lived up to expectation. I will answer in my own opinion. I would say yes. And one of the reasons I would say yes, if you look at the past where we are unable to get certificate of competency, today the NIMASA are issuing certificate of competencies and Nigerian seafarers today are able to sail on board foreign going vessels and they are also able to further their education to other institutions in the world. We also have issues of accreditation. So the NIMASA have also been on the forefront. Now, when it comes to decarbonization, the NIMASA have also set up a target for decarbonization. That being said, I'm not a spokesman of NIMASA and I don't work for NIMASA, but I'm just discussing the issue of marine and blue economy when it comes to NIMASA. Now, I was gradually explaining the trend to you about what has happened from the late 1980s to the early 90s until date. So when you look at it, significant progress has been done. Now, this is the first time in the history that we are having a roadmap. Because if you don't have a roadmap, there's no way you can implement policies. So it's very crucial that nowadays we have a national policy of marine and blue economy, which is crucial and is going to help to harness into most of this potential. It is a 10 years roadmap, which I strongly believe that if we are able to implement it, if we are able, to develop policies to harness our marine and blue economy, I strongly believe that Nigeria will be placed strategically high. Well, when I was still explaining, Nigeria has recently been elected in IMO category C, which is a huge, huge, huge potential for us. It means that we are sitting right in the table where decision making has been made in the International Maritime Organization, which is a dedicated UN body that deals with shipping, maritime safety, and maritime security.
Well, Dr. Caleb, I understand that you're not holding brief for NIMASA.
No,
we just needed to put that in the records.
Yes.
But then, an estimated 10 million direct jobs have been created by the marine and blue economy, and 19.6 million jobs, indirect jobs, have been created also by this Ministry of the Marine. But then, Nigerians will say that a ministry of this magnitude holds a lot of potential to deliver even more. Looking at the number of unemployed people that we have in the country and the numbers that we have, but then let me even ask, has this ministry been able to, in your own observation, been able to create the kind of investment, the shipbuilding, fisheries, coastal tourism, marine transport, and port services, even right now, that the ministry had that responsibility, that the likes of MPA and or the rest of them subsumed under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, have been able to fulfill that target to ensure that 3 years into this administration, we have better output in your own assessment?
Okay, thank you that you said earlier that I'm not a spokesman and I don't work for the government neither. But in my own opinion, I think there is significant progress that have been made. First of all, let's look at the Vessel Cabotage Financing Fund, which has been placed on hold for over 10 years. But with the creation of this ministry and the political will from the administration, the fund will soon be disbursed to indigenous ship owners. That simply means that Nigerians now will be able to purchase ships, and their ships will be able to trade within Nigerian coastal waters. And what does that mean? It simply means that they're going to create employment opportunity, and the GDP is going to contribute to the GDP of the country. It's going to contribute to the revenue of the country. Why? Because those shipping companies are also paying taxes, they are paying VAT, they are paying custom duties, which is crucial for us to know. Now, let's also look at the port modernization, the deal that was just signed by the United Kingdom about modernizing our port. I think it's a significant progress, and if we are able to modernize this port, the issues that we've been having about port congestion, long dwell time of cargo import, long waiting time of ships before they get into the port, will definitely be the theme of the past. But in my assessment, it's too early. 3 years is not really sufficient for it to measure an impact, because it's a newly created ministry, and I strongly believe that they have developed a 10-year plan, but they will still need to do more in order to achieve the desired result. For you to achieve the desired result, you have to identify what are the challenges that we're having, which is very important. How are we going to address those challenges? Because you can't just treat symptoms. You have to go back to basics and find out what are the root cause of port delays, what are the root cause of port congestion. From there, you'll be able to address those issues. And I strongly believe that the Port Modernization Fund is going to go a long way in addressing the issue of infrastructural deficit and obsolete cargo equipment that has always hindered our ports from delivering the optimum efficiency as required.
Well, I asked that question because according to industry estimates, the maritime sector has the capacity to contribute sustainability and substantially, I beg your pardon, more to Nigerian gross domestic product, it is GDP,
Yes.
Based on estimates. But then we're seeing more of a stagnated industry where a lot of, it seems as though nothing is happening within the marine and blue economy. Help us even understand, are there potentials, especially within that sector? And what reforms, urgent reforms, are needed to be able to revamp the sector?
I think, Godwin, is unfair for you to say stagnated, because let me take you back. The cars you drive today, most of the heavy duty equipment you see today that are constructing the roads that you fly, they are all imported.
Well, those vehicles that were imported were long before the marine and blue economy was
well, but there are still vehicles that were imported yesterday.
But then the number of vehicles, it's a normal terrain where the Nigerian Port Authority is saddled with the responsibility of import and export. NIMASA is saddled with its own responsibility. So we can't lay hold to the marine and blue economy as the major reason why we have more cars in the country.
No, I'm taking you somewhere. You interrupted me.
Please go ahead.
So without import and export, it's impossible for us to drive most of the cars, to import most of the equipment. So for you to say that the marine and blue economy is stagnant, in my opinion, I totally don't agree with you. One of the reasons, because if you look at the marine and blue economy, it covers port operation, it covers coastal tourism, it also covers fisheries and aquaculture. So let's look at ports, most importantly. Ports are the gateway to nation's economy. Without port, it's going to be difficult for us to import and export products and different varieties of goods and services. So for you to say there is stagnation, it means that there is no transaction going in and out of port. If there is no transaction, how come people are still
But you will agree with me that just a few days ago, Ohaneze, the Igbo socio-cultural group.
No, I don't do it.
Okay.
I don't do about when it comes to technique or religious.
I'm not even bringing you to that point. Yes. I'm just saying.
I think it's better we move away from the issue
that a socio-cultural
group
raised an alarm that a few ports in the country have been abandoned. That right now, it's perceived that only 2 ports in the country are functioning. The Apapa, the Lagos port, the Lekki, Roro, and also that of, I think, Tinkan, are the only ports that are functioning right now. So with all of this put together, are the Nigerian maritime and blue economy is it harnessing its full potential?
Okay, I think the question you asked, I can't be able to answer you because it comes from the perspective of socio-political zone or whatever it is. So I don't have answer when it comes to question being raised based on social.
All right, so let's move it.
But
Let's
if
move
you
away.
want to ask me an expert or technical question, I think that will go a long way.
Let's move away
because
from.
it will seem that whatever answer I answer here is going to be biased.
No, okay, so let's move away from that conversation.
Yes.
A lot of Nigerian youth right now want to even come into the marine and blue economy, but then it seems like a field that is for a selected few. That a field where you need to belong to the connected economy to be involved in that field. How can young people come into the field, and what is the age bracket for young people to get involved in the maritime sector?
Okay, before I answer this question, I'll go back a bit to answer some of your questions that possibly you are not clear when it talks about the potential, because the marine and blue economy holds a huge potential when it comes to job creation, when it comes to economic development, when it comes to sustainable development, when it comes to human capital development. For instance, when I talk about ports, the port itself alone contribute to job creation in different ways. They contributed towards, let's say, direct job creation, indirect, and possibly induced. So direct job creation, I'll take you back to the youth now. You can create job creation through youth working in ports, working in different agencies. If you are clearing goods in port, you are still working in ports. Youths who are driving all these cargo handling equipment, people who work on the ships, that is a direct employment. Now, indirect employment now is, because ships come in and out of port, they require bunkers, which is fuel that enable them to burn. So a typical Nigerian now that have a bunker station is going to create employment opportunity for the people he's employing, because they are going to supply those bunkers. A food vendor is going to provide employment opportunity for them. They need to buy spare parts. Most of the companies that supply large volume of spare parts want to provide indirect employment opportunity to them. We talk about waste reception facilities to count them up. Now we talk about induced impact. There's a relationship between port city population and then the port itself. Let's also look at, if the port is located in Lokoja today, you have a high number of people that are working in Lokoja, right? And then what happened? Those people, they require accommodation, they require where to stay. So it's going to induce the real estate industry to be able to build more houses to accommodate these people. That's an induced impact. Now, because you are clearing your goods in Lagos and those goods are maybe possibly bound for Kaduna or Jos, is going to induce a job creation for somebody in Jos or Kaduna who is working in a warehouse. Now, for youths, I will strongly encourage our youths today, because the Nigerian population is made up of 70% of youth. So this demography is a huge blessing. And I strongly believe that Nigerian youth are assets, because Nigerian youth are hardworking. So coming about age bracket, there's no age bracket per se for you to start, because I strongly believe that you can start at a certain age, but it all depends on the sector. We have different sectors that they can go into. So they have the shipping sector, which is the seafaring sector, and they have different part of the seafaring sector. In the seafaring sector, we have the deck, the engine department, which also recruit cadets. They start from cadetship and they gradually grow into the rank to become a captain or to become a chief engineer. So the basic requirement to go into that is 5 credits, including English and maths. And they must be science oriented, because you are talking about navigation and also marine engineering. Now, aside that, there's also opportunity for people who are not science students. Now you have maritime transport and business studies, where most of these our youth can study and actually work as port agents. They can actually work at freight forwarders, which is crucial. Now, beyond the seafaring, in the port itself, because the maritime and blue economy holds a huge potential, these youth can work in ports as port agents. They can work in ports as operators that drive most of the cargo handling equipment. They can also support when it comes to security of the ports. Now, let's also look at the shipbuilding industry, because it holds a huge potential. The shipbuilding industry will be able to employ a large number of youths that are into artisan jobs like fabrication and welding, because most of the jobs there will be fabrication, mechanical work. So it holds a huge potential. Now let's move into fisheries. Fisheries also, Nigeria is blessed with abundant fisheries, and fisheries is a source of protein and also is a source of livelihood, particularly to those people that live in the coastal areas. So now you can see how the marine and blue economy holds a huge potential for our youth. Let's also look at the renewable energy, which I strongly believe that they will develop in the near future. And if it is fully developed, number one is going to reduce the cost of power compared to the fossil fuel. We are addressing the issue of fossil fuel decarbonization issues. What does that mean? It simply means that we'll have youths that will be able to work in an alternative fuel stations. We have youths that will be able to work on the renewable energy sectors. So when it comes to potential, the potential is there, but one of the most important things is the enabling ground. We need to give these youths an enabling ground so that they'll be able to harness into these potentials. We need to develop these youths with the right skills. We need to go back to basics. And what do I mean? We need to be able to go back to primary school to start teaching students about the importance of STEM subjects, because that's the background. Then we need to hold seminars. Successful maritime experts need to mentor the younger generation so that they can see a huge potential when it comes to
Dr. Caleb, if we allow you to go on and on, you will, of course, not stop at that point. But then let's even talk about the misconception about the potential of the Nigerian blue economy. Now, the first misconception is that it is a get-rich scheme, a get-rich-quick scheme where if you get into the maritime sector, automatically you become rich. Help us understand. You're already laughing. If one decides to venture into the maritime sector, is it an automatic wealth?
I don't know. How do you define wealth?
Well, you start living flamboyant life.
Flamboyant life.
You
use private jet and the rest. How many seafarers are flying private jets?
I don't know. No, this is the misconception. You are a seafarer.
Well, it's not only about misconception. You have to look at the reality. There's difference between misconception and reality.
A lot of young people want to venture, but then it's being perceived as I want to get into. I want to be a seafarer because if I get into become a seafarer today,
you'll be rich.
Automatically it's the end to poverty in my lineage. Help us understand.
Definitely, it's not only seafaring career, right? Any other career, any other skills career, or if you work today, possibly even in the public.
But the blue economy is the fastest way.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying it's the fastest way. I asked you a question. How do you mean by flamboyant line? You said, okay, private jets and the rest. Then I asked a question again. How many seafarers? Because the world is a global village today. How many seafarers have you seen them flying private jets or flying business class? We have to understand the difference between career. People today have the conception that if you go into this career, it's an avenue for you to make money. But money will always come. But first of all, skill. You have to get the necessary skill. You must be disciplined. Somebody today that's a mechanic in Abuja here, at the end of the day, he can decide to spend 100,000 within 10 minutes. That's also a flamboyant life. Why? Because possibility he might not be a financially disciplined person. And then if local youth in that community see him spending that money, they'll say, oh, I would like to be a mechanic because if I become a mechanic, I'll be able to spend 100,000 within the space of 10, 15 minutes. That is not so. When you are going into a seafaring career, seafaring is a semi-regimental career where people are being disciplined. What do I mean people are being disciplined? Because you are working more or less in an environment that is harsh. You must have the discipline. You must work in a timely fashion. You must have the skills. There's nothing that, oh, I'll just do it like this. No, it's a job that requires skills. So for me, they have to develop their skills first, know what you are doing first. Definitely they will pay you a salary or whatever it is. But the mindset that people say, oh, seafarers are living a flamboyant life, seafarers will definitely live a good life. But you don't just say it's a flamboyant life. No. If I earn salary today and I'm able to rent a house in a decent place, am I not living good? Should I show up? Because there's conception. That's why I ask, what is flamboyant life?
Well,
So I will encourage our youth to look more into marine and blue economy as a career that will be able to develop their skills, as a career that will be able to make them to become better citizens tomorrow, as a career that is going to improve their situational awareness and critical thinking and make them better citizens. When you are a better citizen, you have it all. But that's what flamboyant you might say.
All right. Well, Dr. Caleb, again, the other part of this whole conversation is that to be a seafarer or to explore the blue economy, you must belong to some form of confraternity. Perhaps, I don't want to start mentioning names on air, but you understand the confraternities. Help us understand. If a young person wants to venture into the seafaring as a career, does one have to belong to some form of confraternity?
That's why I don't understand what you mean by confraternity, that someone must belong to some form of confraternity.
Perhaps you're a buccaneer, or perhaps you belong to the neo-black movement.
I understand
that's why I mean, because
I understand
it's a narrative. It's a narrative. Even in university,
yes,
they will tell you that to become a seafarer, you must belong to certain confraternity.
That's why I asked you.
Is it correct? Do you agree with the assertion?
Well, do you agree that to become a journalist, you must also belong to a certain set of confraternities?
Well, it does not. The need have not arise even in the journalistic
also,
space.
That simply means
but then it has become a conversation that have become reoccurring.
Well, this conversation is new to me, honestly. It's new to me because I am an ex-seafarer and I don't belong to any group or anything. Right? Anybody can be a seafarer. You can be a seafarer. We can train you up from cadetship. Age is not a barrier. And then you don't have to belong to a certain group or certain class or whatever it is. Seafarer is seafaring. If you have the right skills and you possess the right qualification, and then that's it. The only challenge we have is that we have shortage of vessels. Right? We have shortage of vessels. So, but we struggle to get cadetship bed space for cadets, which is a serious challenge. However, there are some programs that have been put in place, that the Seafarers Development Program by the NIMASA. Because when you are asking me that what have NIMASA done, that's one of the parts. They are training seafarers today to become a competent seafarers tomorrow. Now, when they recruit these cadets, they train them. But we agree that there's issue of lack of bed space for cadets, which in turn create employment opportunities. So now, for you to say they belong to a certain group, I don't want to say I don't know, I totally disagree. Whoever says that, he is ignorant, or per se, I would say that. They are most likely ignorant, because someone will tell me that there's a place called Bermuda Triangle, there's a vessel goes through Bermuda Triangle, is going to lose, you are not going to see the vessel again. And do you have any theory to back it up? Because for
so even that is not correct.
How is
the
it
Bermuda
correct?
Triangle theory.
Pass through Bermuda. So how is it correct? There's a triangle. Quite all right. In the past, right? Let me give you the perception. When ships don't have good navigation system, when ships don't have weather alerting system, those areas are prone for typhoon and tropical revolving storm. And then when we lost ship as a result of tropical revolving storm or typhoon because it's in that area, does it mean that that's where the demon lives? I totally disagree with it. Let's face nature and understand how nature is. Let's face the weather and understand this is how the weather is. Today, technology has made it easier that you can receive forecasts for over 2 weeks ahead, so you know what is happening. There are ship routines now. There are companies that enable you to plan your voyage safely. Why is it that ships pass through Bermuda Triangle today and they don't get missing? Why?
And you've answered it.
Exactly. So that's the same narrative and perspective. Because I'm a seafarer, I have been appearing on programs, and then I don't understand where someone belongs to a group or whatever.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
Let's move.
So that would discourage a lot of you. So I want to mention
that's why we brought
the
it up.
youth that are online to know that the only criteria for you to be a seafarer is you should have the basic entry requirement, and then you should have the leadership skill. You should be disciplined. That is the most important thing. Once you have the basic entry requirement, there is nothing,
All right. So there is this narrative that to be a seafarer or to venture into the blue economy, it means that you must have made money from somewhere, because the government does not give funds or support does not come from anywhere. How correct is this narrative?
I think you have virtually answered your question by yourself.
Well,
I told you that there's a training program that's ongoing in Nimasa.
This is
all the Nigerian seafarers development
for example, we've talked about shipbuilding, we talk about fisheries, we talk about coastal tourism,
okay,
we talk about marine transportation, we've talked about port services and a few others. If one wants to venture into this as a sole proprietor, is it possible?
For me, it's possible. In every business, there are issues, there are challenges here and there. Well, let me take you back. When we talk about seafaring, yes, it's a bit capital intensive for you to train a seafarer, looking at the cost of certificate of competency and difficulties in getting vessels. But the government have always support. If you look at the Nigerian Seafarer Development Program, it's been implemented by the government, and they fund those cadets, they sponsor them fully, 100% until they get their certificate of competency. So the first question you ask, I think you need to definitely look into the data and the statistics, because something is being done in that aspect. Now, you talk about the sole proprietorship of owning ships. There is also data to show that there's effort by the government to support indigenous ship owners through the vessel,
the cabotage. Exactly. Yeah, you've talked about it, yes. But the cabotage itself, the act since 2023, it's just it's been partially implemented right now. It's
of
not
course,
fully
but I mentioned earlier, I said for the past 10 years,
partially implemented,
put on hold. But yes, now,
so it is now it is partially
exactly. So you have to appreciate the narrative.
Is the narrative wrong to say that you must have made money from somewhere before you venture into the marine and blue economy? Is that narrative wrong?
Is it business aspect, or you are talking about employment
in
aspect?
generality?
No, you have to be specific.
Okay, let's take it from the business aspect.
From the business aspect, now, if you want to venture into the car dealers business in Abuja, for instance, you need capital. You can't just depend on government or friends or families, right? You need capital. When you look at any business, let's go through the simple accounting equation. You have assets here. You have assets, you have your liability and owner's equity. So if you borrow from the bank, it's liability. And if you contribute your own, it's owner's equity. So 90%, most of the firm business are capital intensive. So it's not only limited to seafaring. Today, how many people own ships? How many people own aircraft? Why is it that, myself, I can't own a ship or aircraft? It's simply because of the cost involved. It's a capital intensive project. So you need money to be able to go into those business. Yes. Like you also may answer the question yourself that, the cabotage vessel financing fund is also there. But if you are going into any business, being in a real estate business, being in a car dealer's business, you need money. You don't just depend, you don't just wake up today and say, government must fund my project. No. Yes, the government have a role to play to support entrepreneurs. I've seen a lot of seat application program here and there where young entrepreneurs, they seek government support to see how they can be able to grow to attain their full potentials in life. You have the TVET programs are there. But for you to go into shipbuilding and you don't have the money, how are you going to succeed in that business? Because shipbuilding is capital intensive. Even the investors would not like to invest in your company because they don't have the confidence that you have something. You can't just register, or what will you say, a virtual company that doesn't have assets. There's nothing. If you even go to bank to get loan, what liability do you have?
Let's talk about the digital shipping and, of course, ocean research. It tends to be a field where a lot of Nigerians don't tend to venture into. The number of Nigerians, based on the statistics that I have, it's a bit low. First, based on research, a lot of Nigerians believe that the digital shipping and ocean research is not a profitable venture. As such, they begin to look into other angle of the blue economy. Help us understand, is the digital shipping and ocean research not profitable?
Well, I can't say about profitability because I'm not into that business, and there is no statistics that have said, oh, ocean research or digitalization in shipping is
Well,
not profitable.
I told you,
For
I told
me,
you we have the direct job from about
based,
10 million.
you are working based on assumption, right?
No, 10
You
10
can go
million,
into-
10 million direct job, 19.6 million indirect job. And that figures are broken down again. So the statistics are out. So if you don't have access to it, it's still fine. But help us
where
understand.
I'm asking you about
please.
the statistic I'm asking is not about the jobs, it's about the profitability.
Well,
Because for every statement
I just told you that a lot of persons don't venture into digital shipping and ocean research.
Well, when you talk about digital shipping, you have to be clarify your statement, because digitalization in ports, most of the port agents today, they work digital, right? Digitalization means a lot of things. It means smart ports. It means that you are going to incorporate technology
and also the ocean research.
Because
some of them almost work
when you talk about ocean, when you talk about
the ocean research, yeah,
it's a field that is critical,
yeah,
right? Because you need survey vessels to go into ocean. But I know a handful of Nigerians today that are into ocean research. They research about the different species. They research about the issue of ballast water management system and how all those species impact on other regions. So research, they are basically researchers. It's not a business that is being ventured for profit making. If you are carrying out the research, are you carrying out more? You are carrying out the research to dig out a root cause of a particular problem so that you can be able to provide solution. Well, if you provide solution, your solution will be adopted, which you'll be able to make money. But the aim is to carry out research, which is very important for you to clarify. There's a distinction between a typical marketing aspect and research aspect of business. And when it comes to research aspect of business and academic research, they are trying to gain knowledge. They are trying to see, okay, what are the aquatic species? What are the medicinal species?
So because of time constraints, so should Nigerians, more Nigerians venture into this space? Will you advise?
I'd advise, especially the women, because the number of women participating.
I was coming to that point where which builds to the next point, which we are going to now. The field again tend to be a male-dominated platform, a male-dominated career, and a male-dominated space. But you are a seafarer. Go ahead and advise us at this point.
Well, it's a male-dominated because you have less than 2% of seafarers globally that are females, which the number is very low. And one of the reasons is the common stereotype that people believe that seafaring job is meant for men, and then the women are meant to be at home, and then for women to leave their home and family to spend longer time at sea. And that narrative is changing now, because we have a high handful number of female seafarers, and we still have a lot of them as cadets. And most of these seafarers have gone to attain the highest level of maritime professional career. Some of them are captain, chief engineer, and some of them are also heading companies today. So we have to encourage female participation in seafaring. How do we do that? First of all, the successful female seafarers have to share their stories. Success stories, you have to share their stories. Number two, we as men have to be advocates for change. We need to support them. We need to mentor them. Mentorship is a key. We need to provide them with a fair leveling environment to compete. We need to accumulate more females. We need to go back to basics, to drawing board, and then start addressing this issue of stereotype from the community level, and make most of the parents to understand that this is a successful career. It's not a career that have some sort of issues or challenges like what you say you must belong to X, Y, Z. No, you need to raise the awareness about the importance of seagoing career. And then, very important, once they are on board, you need to support them. You need to give them career advice. You need to provide mental health support because you are far away from your families. And then those ones that eventually get married, the husband also have to support them, which is very important. He also have to understand that his wife has ventured into a career. So life does not end as a seafarer. You can decide to move from seafaring to an office job, which is important.
All right. So before we let you go, I want you to advise a lot of Nigerians right now watching you across the world, especially that want to venture into and explore the potentials that are available within the blue economy. advise them, especially those of them that don't like water, thinking that the whole blue economy is it's water oriented. How can they come into the sector and benefit from the potentials that it holds?
Okay, that's a very important question. I strongly believe that the maritime and blue economy holds a huge potential, especially for our youths. So it doesn't matter whether you know how to swim or not, but the thing is, our youth, we have to keep striving. We have to encourage the youths, to undertake careers at sea, to undertake careers in port. We have to support them, because you can say, oh, our youth should go into seafaring career, they should go into shipbuilding. But without the right support, without the right mentorship, without the right sponsorship, all this will be on the paper and it won't be implemented. So we have to develop policies that are going to support these youth. We have to provide them with sponsorship. We have to provide them with mentorship. We have to provide them with career guidance. We have to provide them with open day and career days where they'll understand the importance of seagoing careers. And then above all, like I mentioned earlier, we have to go back to basics, to primary school level, to be able to start to teach them about seafaring careers and the prerequisite, like STEM subjects, because STEM subjects are the background. One thing I have to say before I go is, Nigerian youth are hardworking. We have a youthful population of 70% of the entire country's population. That's a huge blessing. So if we really harness into this potential, I strongly believe that Nigerian youth are going to be assets instead of liability. Which Nigerian youth are assets because they are excelling even in the marine and blue economy. You have young captains that are excelling. They are selling internationally and they are making Nigerians proud. If I see a young captain selling now, it doesn't matter where he comes from, he's a Nigerian and I'm proud. When I was selling, even if I see somebody from Africa, oh, I'm proud that there's an African here selling. So I believe that we need to support them. We need to provide them all the necessary support like sponsorship. We need to provide enabling environment. We need to go back to our communities to raise awareness, because most of the communities...
And people that cannot swim, they can still join.
They can still join. I don't know how to swim, but I'm a seafarer.
Okay, that sounds very shocking. Because one would think that as a seafarer, the whole water has become your terrain, and of course you should be able to explore and dive deep into the water.
You are not a diver, you are a seafarer.
I don't know the seafaring space, but I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Caleb,
thank you very much
for finding out time to be with us to discuss the potentials and help us even eliminate some of the thoughts that a lot of people hold when it has to do with seafaring, it has to do with the marine and blue economy, thinking that the space is for a selected few. Thank you so much. We want to appreciate you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, viewers, this is how far we can go tonight on Korero. Do not forget that you can leave your thoughts, you can leave your comments on our various social media handle currently showing on your screen. And you can also download the RapidTV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your night rest. Bye for now.